right, welcome to Night Clerk Radio. This is episode 51, Discord Spring Cleaning. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Burke. How you doing, Burke?
I'm all right, Ross. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're talking about a variety of music today because we do have a Discord for patrons of the Night Clerk Radio Patreon, which you can join for only $5 a month and get a bonus episode and access to our Discord. And we'll have some other rewards as time goes on. Oh, yeah, there's a cool desktop wallpaper of art.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we have a community on our Discord, and people share their own. We share music, primarily me. I share stuff I find on the internet. You share some stuff too, but I share a lot. I'm one of those guys who just like, hey, I found a thing. I'm going to share it with other people. Hey, look at this. Look at this.
Yeah.
But our listeners have posted quite a bit of music on our Discord over the last couple of months, and we decided we do a little bit of spring cleaning and just like look at what they're listen to what they're posting. So yeah, it's a smorgasbord, a potpourri, a buffet. Right. I don't know.
So this has become something that's like kind of a tradition, because we did something similar last spring where before even the Discord and Patreon were up and running, people would like tweet us recommendations or just post them in other Discords we were in and just collected them all. And I guess a good excuse to just listen to all of them. So just doing something similar, but with links people posted in the Discord, which is funny because they keep rolling in and I feel bad because like at some point you have to cut off or like pick a range of time so you have a reasonable amount of time to listen to it to record.
Yeah.
But even just this morning, people are posting albums and stuff. I'm like, well, probably not going to get to this one today.
Yeah.
But we'll keep it in mind for the future. So
yeah, exactly.
I think that the goal though is really like a smorgasbord type listening experience to me, because there's really too many to listen to in detail like we do for a normal episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how many are we doing? Let's see here. 1, 2, 9, 10 things at least. So yeah. That's we normally do too. So you can do the math. This episode's still going to be normal length.
Hopefully. We never know.
Yeah.
But I think some we can move through pretty quick because people will know like classic vaporwave albums that I'm kind of using the recommendation as an excuse to like, well, all right, I'll at least say that this album is really good or something like that.
So yeah, we should just go ahead and dive in.
Yeah. Do you want to just go down the list in order that they're in our little show notes?
Yeah. Our first one is By Now by Eyeliner. This is a vaporwave classic. It came out in 2015 originally.
Yeah. Like peak.
Yeah. Peak vaporwave. And it's really interesting now because it has been released as a Creative Commons licensed album and through the New Zealand library system. The stems and the digital audio workstation files have been released as well. So it's very easy to make your own remix or to repurpose the music for your own usage. That's really cool. And we'll have links in the show notes so you can, if you're interested in messing around with this music, it's all out there for you to download and try out from the composer. But what does it sound like, Burke?
I actually forgot how much I loved this album because I probably haven't listened to it since it came out.
Yeah,
but
same.
Man, it's such great, like late 80s, early 90s type patches. I know I've been dinged for probably comparing stuff to other bands too much, but like it sounded like really good New Order covers, like the 80s band. They did like Blue Monday and Bizarre Love Triangle are like the two big hits, but they made a lot of really great music. And they really defined that like, really good new wave.
For me, it was like the album was called By Now, B-U-Y. And so like all the song titles are like, very evocative of like commercial stuff. And so like that's what the whole album is about. So for me, it's like business media. So like, like sneakers for men and wind chimes and Venetian blinds and payphone. And like, so like, this is like every infomercial, every commercial, like business training video from the 90s that you've ever heard, but in a really fun kind of way. And so it's just fun to listen to, even if you're, so yeah, it's really nice. And it's very much business is great. All right. Like,
but kind of like an interesting, can't get too into the weeds per thing, but like before that split off or like as that was splitting off into kind of its own like corporate wave, Donovan Nagaru and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That we've done before. So it's kind of funny that, I don't know, it's like genre agnostic consumerism marketing.
This is not, like you said, because the stems were released. This is not like a Plunderphonics album. These are original compositions.
Yeah.
Is my understanding. So, yeah, if you like that kind of peppy corporate cheerleader sort of music, this is a nice little thing. There's a vinyl release of it that's out there floating around somewhere that was released last year, I think.
The vinyl release last year, I might be getting my stories of albums confused, but I thought another reason it came up is that was there another vinyl release or just the stems release was the big deal?
I think the stems release are just the files. And then there's also like a commercial vinyl release to celebrate, I think like its 5th or 6th anniversary or something like that. There is also an album of remixes of it that the New Zealand library sort of promoted to showcase what you can do with these files. So, which I listened to a little bit, and yeah, pretty neat little remixes. But yeah, the vinyl release is separate from the Creative Commons thing.
Right. That's what I was asking. Okay.
Yeah. It's one of those like, hey, it's on Bandcamp. We made 100 copies of these shiny vinyl albums. Buy it now before it's too late. So yeah, moving on to our second one. Let's see here. This is New Earth by Nuevo Testamento. And I like this. I actually listened to this album several times because it's very 80s synth pop. Actually, lyrics, like a woman singing through most of these. But it reminded me of the kind of music you listen to techno-war before the Terminator shows up a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the soundtrack to any sort of club scene or the end credits of like an 80s pop movie, you know, like
that's pretty funny. I definitely got like 80s movie vibe, but more like romantic comedy.
Oh yeah.
Rather than club, because it's very,
it could be like a dating montage thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like you said, it's very 80s synth pop. I'd say the other thing for me is I think I might have to revisit this in the summer because it's very lyrics driven. And I have to be like in a certain mood for that lyrics heavy pop type stuff, but like as a power pop album, if that's what you're into.
Yeah. Power pop is a very good way of describing it.
Yeah. Cause it's very energetic, very powerful vocals.
Yeah. Great vocals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool stuff.
Boy, it feels weird to just, I'm just going to be meta here for a second until I talk about something for a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
After doing like 15-minute segments of here's artist research on the stuff, but it's kind of fun. Like I forgot what it was like to kind of just casually listen to stuff for this show. In a way.
Not do detailed notes for each track.
But I guess we'll move on then to our third, which was Warpland, a dungeon synth album recommended by frequent guest Caleb, who's been on our Unsolved Mysteries and Lovecraft episodes. This, I really like this. It was very classic dark dungeon synth, like very, very mood driven, very evocative. Yeah. Really reminded me is like some of the best of the genre that we've listened to.
Yeah. And this was more like cinematic than say like a lot of dungeon synth, especially the stuff we've listened to on the show has been more like old school video game dungeon synth, you know, like a wizardry sort of soundtrack, I think. This is not, this is more cinematic. And I would say this actually reminded me a lot of like Goblin.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. That's another good thing of like a Fulci fantasy soundtrack maybe, or something.
The style, the types of synths they used, just the drone kind of drumming elements of it.
Really good on that, but also had parts that had like really good like lead melodies and stuff. It wasn't all just like dungeon journey stuff. There's a lot of like really good little synth themes in there, which is always a nice way to break that up. Yeah, no, exactly. And this is also various artists. This is like, there's like 6 tracks and like 6 different artists doing this. So this was like, this is not a particular artist. It's from released by Bishop, which I don't know. They're based in Argentina. So yeah, no, it's one thing. It's from their album notes, a dungeon synth album for the dark acid fantasy TTRPG. And yeah, I can see that. There's also a bonus adventure scenario called Thanatopus. So yeah, the little like OSR kind of dark fantasy RPG scenario in that, which I feel is sort of a crucial component of a dungeon synth album, is to release some dark fantasy RPG material. For sure. You got to have a lot of meta themes because like the Bandcamp page for Bishop broadly, they have 3 things on there. Warpland being the most recent. But it just says Buenos Aires 2076. The city is under the tyrannical grip of a supercomputer named ISAC. And that's all. I don't know what that has to do with the dungeons and stuff, but I love it. Yeah.
So yeah, this is a fun little dungeon synth album. It's only like 30 minutes too. It's not a super long album, so it doesn't overstay its welcome, which, you know, some albums do, but this one does not.
Yeah, especially in that genre. Like sometimes you get into like your 48th minute of just like generic D&D adventure music. And you're like,
it's like, yeah, we've heard this drum section before. Yeah, I get
it.
Yeah, the cult's really bad, apparently. The ceremony's really dark, and the dungeon's very sinister. Yeah, it's hard fighting. Yeah, dungeons, yeah. We could go on, but yeah. So yeah, our next album is from a listener, actually, I believe.
That's right.
Their album is called Yonko LLC, or is it Yanko?
I think Yonko LLC is the group. It's like the project, because they have a YouTube channel that has a bunch of like a Yonko LLC product.
Okay.
Kind of branding, and then it's Capricorn Third Deacon.
Yeah. And yeah, this is a post-rock album. I thought it was quite eclectic. Like
yes.
There is a variety of techniques and instrumentation, and which I found quite interesting.
Yeah, it's really engaging because it's a lot of like 1 and 2 minute tracks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of quick ideas. It's a YouTube project. So there's not just music, there's visuals. So it's got some wild, like psychedelic type visuals going on, which I believe they said some of which, I don't know which ones exactly, were inspired by stuff we've talked about on the show. And I think there's a few of those I can see, like we always use the phrase, or at least I do, and I think you do too, is like time is slippery.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the visuals was like time, and then like these like distorted figures like sliding around and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna claim that one, even if it's not true. Sorry, man. But yeah, I just really love the like energy and the variety. I think a lot of the like guitar and more like direct post rocky stuff was like really evocative, like really, really enjoyable to listen to. Pretty cool. There are like 1 or 2 tracks that were like got to be, I don't know if it's just because I was working and it wasn't the right music to work to. Got like a little abrasive, but I still get what you're doing. Like abrasive stuff can still be interesting.
Yeah.
And I just like the creative energy, because this same person also always posts like, here's stickers I made, here's art I made, here's like t-shirts I made and stuff.
It's a very cool project, and I like the album too because it's post-rock. We just talked about, the sort of stereotypes of post-rock groups of like crescendo chord or whatever, of just, and this is not that. Like, this is post-rock. There's clearly post-rock, but it is not ripping off Godspeed You Black Emperor or anything. So like, I like to see the breadth of the genre. I'm intrigued. I will look forward to their next album, whatever it is. So
yeah, I didn't see anything on. I didn't look super hard, but I didn't see anything else like on their immediate YouTube channel.
Yeah, so
it might be, I don't know if it's a one-off.
I thought it was ongoing, but so. I guess we'll find out in the future. I'm sure. Well, I'm sure if you join our Discord, you could find out. You could ask.
You could ask them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it takes a long time to make, because there's like as much the visual component as the music component, because they really described it as a post-rock visual artwork, not just an album.
Yeah.
So I think the visual component is also pretty important.
Mm-hmm. That is true. So.
Switching gears.
Possibly even a darker album, though.
So what you're referring to is News at 11, the Liberty Edition by Catcore. Yeah, it's exactly what you would think.
Those for you who aren't familiar, News at 11 is a famous, by the standards of vaporwave, album. Pat Chennington did a video on it called The Tragic Side of Vaporwave, because the whole premise of the album is morning television on the morning of September 11th.
Yeah.
Right before the first plane hits. Like the album ends as they break the news. And so it's like the end of the 90s, the end of this era. Like so it's about the horror of implication, the horror of what is unsaid, it is. So it is a very dark album because it's very pleasant, and you just Tuesday, September, and like they do this brilliant technique of like not explicitly saying September 11th. It's like Tuesday, September, and she's like, wait a minute.
What? Keep some easy listening to vaporwave. Don't think about it.
Don't think about it. It's the horror of this is fine, being like, I'm just drinking my coffee and everything's on fire. But
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say we should specify that, like, yeah, this is an absolute classic album. Came out in 2016. The reason it worked its way back through our Discord recommendations is they recently had a series of like cassette VHS re-releases, which, boy, that would be an interesting visual.
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I bet it's just on YouTube. I could just go watch it. Yeah, the link's right there.
Yeah, I've started watching it actually.
A little movie night watch.
I actually, I actually ordered the VHS. It has been shipped.
Oh, you got one before they sold out.
Yeah, I did get one. It has not shown up
That's
yet.
exciting.
They said they would estimated delivery 5 days, and that was on February 28th, it is now March 9th. So we'll see.
Oh,
yeah.
There's a lot happening in the world, right?
There is a lot happening in the world. So let me just type in USB.
We're live on air.
Live on air.
Checking my package. So I do have like a historical question about this. If you know, so on this version, the back half is all Weather Channel music. Was that in the original release, or is that part of the Liberty Edition? Like, is it a whole bunch of new stuff? Oh, no, it's on the original release. Sorry, I just looked at the Bandcamp.
So I think what they added to the new thing was to add a new prologue. Yeah, so like the video is the new thing. And the video does have like a prologue. It has a warning like at the beginning of it. This album's not for everybody. Like, I forgot exactly what, but there is like a warning. Like, this is, this is about an intense subject. So, content warning.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of stuff. I mean, I would never think to do it, obviously. That's why I'm not them for a variety of reasons. But yeah, it's interesting choice of samples. I'm glad they did it. Like, just kind of tackle it.
It's I think a very important vaporwave album. Like, this is like a highlight of this is what the genre is really about to me, is like this kind of commentary, this kind of like juxtaposition of comfort versus anxiety. This is all comforting music, but then there's the existential, anxiety lurking in what is unsaid, what is unmentioned. And it's the thing you don't see that is the scariest. And
yeah. And I don't know, like, I think also feels appropriate in terms of current events, just because it does do this like sample that she knows from like a horrible thing, and then cuts away into like pretty chill vaporwave. So there's almost like a normalizing commentary, which is something we're doing now for even worse in many cases event. So yeah, it's just a weird commentary. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
We should do more. Getting topic whiplash.
Yeah.
Going back to post rock.
Yeah.
There's no order to this. We could have planned this better, but this is literally the order. I just scrolled back through the Discord and just copied stuff over from each channel. So that's why they're a little out. We have somebody posted, and I think almost maybe want to do an album or do an episode on this, just because it's pretty interesting. But like a month or two ago, the lost 1994 demo of Godspeed You Black Emperor, All Lights Fucked on the Hairy Amp Drooling. Interesting title. Was leaked and then later officially released by the band. Yeah. In response to the leak, and it was released, I think, as part of like a Gaza Strip charity or Palestine.
It was. Yeah. All proceeds go to a Gaza Strip charity. Yeah. There's a band. Yeah, actually today, as we record this, Bandcamp released an article about where they interviewed the founder of Godspeed You Black Emperor to talk about this. It's a solo project of just the founder, Ephraim Manuel Manuk. So this is entirely his stuff when he was 23, college student, and got drunk every night and then messed around with his instruments and made this.
Yeah. What did you think? I know some people were pretty shocked, and probably why he was like apprehensive about ever putting it out is it is pretty different. Yeah. So like if you were just expecting more Godspeed, that's not really what you get. No. Like there's little hints of it there. There's little bits of that core. But once they became like a full band a few years later, like that stuff is just so much different and more refined. Yeah. With obvious reason.
Yeah. This is definitely unrefined. This is angrier. Like I thought, leaning on the rock than the post rock, but not like, So like lots of distorted guitar, lots of, angry young man, frustrated with his place in life. His concept for this album was he made it as a retirement letter to music. Like at 23, he was giving up on being a professional musician. And then he released this he made 33 copies of this tape and gave them out. Obviously kept one for himself. Then he started people like, hey man, you want to do a show here? And then he met other people, and then Godspeed became a full band. So if you're a Godspeed fan, it's interesting to listen to. It's different. Again, yeah, it's the genesis, the seeds of Godspeed. You can see there's like this sampled conversation with his mother that's very tense. Yeah. So very autobiographical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if you're even remotely a fan of like angry 90s lo-fi rock, there has to be something there. Even if you're not like into what Godspeed does now, I think it's still pretty interesting to listen to. Like it's such a relic.
It's very lo-fi. Yeah. That's literally made in a garage with very low end equipment. So it's definitely got that lo-fi aesthetic to it. But yeah, it's worth listening to. It's also on YouTube, obviously, because it got leaked on there. It's pretty neat. Moving on, we have Dark Ambient Jam on D. This is a YouTube video song by Audio Wanderer. We'll have a link to the YouTube video. And I listened to this without reading the YouTube description, and then I read the YouTube description, and I was like, oh, inspired by Vangelis, you say? How very surprising.
Yeah. That's probably, one of the just too popular, that Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah.
It's just too popular.
Too powerful.
In a good way.
No,
it's so powerful.
I was actually pretty impressed because, according to his notes, he dusted off his Mother 32 and played an improvised thing with just the monophonic Moog and some reverb. And so it's like one synth, and you can watch him do it live. And so just like, it's a pretty evocative song for just using that, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's a cool track. I get that people think maybe this is a little too CSAD, Blade Runner Vangelis era heavy, but I really wanted to use this as a springboard to talk about like this larger genre of YouTube videos, which I'm very much into, which is not just this channel, but many. I'll throw a few others in the show notes. I've just gotten real into this like single person doing like an improv jam with a single synth. And sometimes it's not as simple as it looks. Like deceptively, that simple synth can be like $20,000 worth of gear.
Yeah, that's right.
Or something, but it is largely springs off kind of the same interest in we talked about on the Patreon bonus episode, like the generative ambient of people who set up synths and just kind of let the oscillators run and see what you get. And this is a little more hands-on, but I just do like that idea of like, if you really know a lot about synthesis, analog or FM, you can really make a lot of interesting, really cool stuff. And these videos were what inspired me to like pick up some of those little Korg synths and play around with them. I'm not as good at it nearly as the people in these videos, but it's inspiring. It's fun to play around with, and it's fun to watch. And you get like, I don't know, it's just very inspiring. Like it just kind of makes you want to go make some music of your own. And then you try and you're like, oh, they've actually been doing it for 20 years and are much better. You got to practice. It's just such a learned skill. And I just like watching people be really good at things. Yeah. So there's that element to it beyond like just this specific song.
Yeah. I do appreciate a good like analog synth. I get why they're in, like people who are into analog synths are really into analog synths, but like seeing them, being able to like look at this row of dials and knobs and like be able to make something that sounds good by just pulling, messing with a bunch of knobs and buttons and everything and patch chords. And it's very impressive. And my hat's off to them.
Yeah. If we ever hang out in the same room, I'll let you play around with my little, I have little Volca keys, which is a little Korg analog synth. And yeah, it's just like, I spent so much time just like, what's VCF? Like just turning knobs. And you're like, oh man, this sounds like ass until you hit it just right. And it's like, ooh, that's a tangy bass lead or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's fucking analog, so you forget it. You got to like write it down. Korg actually has little sheets that are little diagrams of the thing, and you put little markers where like the knobs were, so you can save that's how you have to save your patches. You have to like write them down or like,
I guess take photos. Them.
Yeah, or take photos or something. Yeah.
Nice. That does sound cool. I did get like a stylophone for Christmas, and I've been messing around with that a bit. And I've been watching YouTube tutorials on that, like how to make a cool sound with the stylophone. Do this, and this. Like, oh, look, I make the sound, and it sounds like the Halloween arpeggio. Nice. This cheap little, instrument. It's very cool. Yeah, someday I want to get like a theremin just so I can mess around with it, but they're so expensive.
You can do like the DIY ones. Yeah, build your theremin.
Yeah, that's true. Someday. let's see. Our next one is from a big band, Japan, and it's Ghosts. I actually had not listened to this. I have not really dived into Japan's discography, even though they're.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just one of those blind spots you have in like in the canon, I guess, of new wave stuff. I liked it. It's a good like synth pop, kind of evocative, moody song about a guy's personal ghosts with some good synth work. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, they were so early in the new wave, like in the 70s. Like they're very ahead of their time. And I don't know how you don't really hear about them very much. I don't know how much they carried on into like the 2000s or whatever, as much as some other bands. Like I don't know if they ever had that huge radio hit that you need to kind of keep going. I could be wrong.
They apparently Ghost got on the UK charts in 1982.
Okay. So, but not well, I'm not in the UK, so that's why I didn't.
Yeah. I think Japan was more well known in the UK than in the US.
Yeah.
So,
or just sort of a little underground, like, nobody cares about like the New York Dolls or MC5 anymore, unless you're like really into punk, like early punk. In the same way of like, there were Ramones t-shirts just everywhere. Right. Yeah. Like they're just different tiers of recognizability to people. Yeah. So this is a track. I know I've heard it. I've not heard it in a long time. Ooh, it's a good one. Great vocals of that era. I liken it to like Tears for Fears. Like that, like very powerful textural vocals. Makes me want to like revisit a bunch of their other stuff because it's been a long time since I've listened to.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a blind spot in my listening history, so I'm definitely gonna like pull up a Japan mix, see how it hits. Pretty cool.
Up next is Iterations, which is actually a project, not like an album or a band. Just to be clear, although maybe can be considered a band. It's a project. They have a bunch of stuff on Bandcamp. I just listened to one track for this, which is the most recent one called 500, which I don't know. So the first thing I thought was interesting. There's like a radio edit. There's like a 7-minute version and like a shorter one. I was like, are you submitting this to the radio? Is there synthwave, like mainstream synthwave radio? Or like not like a college station that would just play a 7-minute song and wouldn't care? I don't know. I just thought it was interesting that there were like radio edits. But yeah, very classic, like soundtracky, pulsing bass, synth lead. Pretty good. I'd probably check out some of their other longer albums.
Yeah, I listened to a quite a bit of Particle Movement Theory, that album. I liked it because it was synthwave, but did not read action movie soundtrack, which I feel like way too much. Anytime you go through the synthwave tag on Bandcamp, everyone's trying to basically be like Gunship or Perturbator and just be like this is for the soundtrack of an 80s action movie or video game that never existed. And so this is like, I mean, it's still pretty like upbeat and energetic, but like it wasn't like let's kill all the robots kind of music. Like it was, I don't know. I enjoyed it. It's synthwave, but it wasn't going 100% super intense over the top, which I feel like synthwave, like a lot of that synthwave stuff gets a little almost like a parody of itself when it gets to be like Hotline Miami was like 10 years ago. Like you can calm down a bit sometimes. Like it's okay to make synthwave that isn't balls to the wall action movie bullshit. So, and this is it. It was pretty like, kind of more cyberpunky synthwave stuff. Yeah.
Putting synthwave on blast.
Yeah, basically. I'm just saying Hotline Miami was like 2012, I think. So like we can move on as a genre. It's okay.
You know what? That's fair.
Yeah. So our last one is an album, a feature funk album, Vinyl Paradise by Zai Cohen. Guess what? Feature funk, still fun genre.
Sure, man.
Yeah. Disco beats, plunderphonics, vocal samples, 80s city pop aesthetic. Again, I felt like this wasn't quite as, again, sometimes over the top, like Macross 8299. There just is like I don't know. This was a pretty like, it's going to trust in the city pop music like to carry it instead of being like superly over slick with its production value. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I mean I threw it on there just for some variety. It's a very good example of future funk.
Yeah,
I will say. Again, probably a little more summery maybe for me, depending on mood.
Yeah, future funk is it is the quintessential summer genre for me. Just period.
Definitely one to keep in the back pocket for if you ever have future backyard events. We need some music.
Me and the boys hanging out.
That's right.
Drinking some Radlers on the back porch, grilling, blasting the future funk, just having a good time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's if you want to expand your future funk listening, this is a good album to check out.
Yeah. Man, that brings us to the end of our list. Our Discord has been spring cleaned, Ross.
Yay. We did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. And like, people are always posting stuff. So sorry if you posted something, we didn't get to it. Or if something was missed, I just kind of scrolled back a couple scrolls deep in each. We have channels per genre, kind of keep things organized. And I just scrolled back a few scrolls deep. And then when it was all just Ross links before people joined, before a lot of people were in there, now we got like 20 some. So it's a little more active.
Yeah.
That's when I stopped. So if we missed something you recommended us, or if it was like on Twitter, I didn't go over and look on Twitter, but I know people have been shooting some dark ambient at us.
Yeah.
That we'll get to at some point, I'm sure.
Exactly. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Our next episode, this is an album, series of albums that YouTube recommends to me every 6 months or so at a minimum. And I guess it has reached the quote unquote mainstream because I'm seeing people on my Facebook feed that do not listen to vaporwave, probably don't know what vaporwave is. They're like, hey man, check this out. This is cool. This is Sludgefest, a Chipmunks album that was slowed down to 16 speed on a record player. And you've never heard Heaven is a Place on Earth until you've heard it chipmunkified and then slowed down. And so we'll talk a little bit about the Sludgefest albums and then Sludgewave as a genre, which Burke is really into.
Oh no, I'm on.
Yeah.
Now I'm on the spot.
You're on the spot. You got to be our expert here.
Oh, fuck.
So yeah, if you want to see the albums, if you want to talk about your albums that you like, and also get a bonus episode every month, and we have quite a few already. So if you're hungering for some more Night Clerk Radio, our patreon.com/nightclerkradio for $5 a month, you can support us and get a lot more music recommended to you, and just dive the depths of vaporwave even more. We are on Twitter at Night Clerk Radio. I am at Ross Payton, and Burke is at Burke McBurkinson. We have a website, nightclerkradio.com. We have a Facebook page where I occasionally remember to post episode links. And please rate and review us on whatever podcasting platform you use. And tell your friends, tell strangers, tell everybody about Night Clerk Radio. It's cool. That's my pitch. It's cool.
It's very cool.
Well, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.